Salute. Peace and power. I thank the universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. Divine mind knows that divine mind shows all things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Peace and power. Salute to the people that struggle. How you do? How you do? Saturday night book club. Come on in. Let's get it right. Get your books, get your audios, get your download, your little pages. Share the video as you come in. Like, we're going to build tonight. We're going to build tonight. We're going to build. All the moderators, as you come on in, make sure all the information is up and inside of the chat. Peace T, Karim Ali, salute, my salams. Huh? Hey, Stone. What's going on? Yes, yes. Yes. Coco, what up, Coco? I see you. What's going on, love? You all right? Yes, well, we see. We see. They coming on in thick. Peace, Wells. Yvette, hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? Y'all get y'all materials yet? Let me know. I know Labor Day may have caused some delays in people receiving their books. But if you ordered a book, trust it was sent out last week. And please excuse me, I don't know, for the past few weeks, this exact same time, every night, allergies or cough or whatever it is been kicking in. This is not only embarrassing, but it is annoying. Salute, Tony. What's good? Check. Salute. Peace and power. Arms up to you too. Peace and power. You know, especially during book club. Very annoying. Very annoying. So I get to coughing and carrying on. Please excuse me. It is something weird, you know. Very weird, right? As always, I hope everybody is somewhere settled and safe. Praying, what up? Salute. You know, I trust everybody's in a safe location. Yes. Damn, there go Kelly Mills. Woo. I gotta sit up straight now. Kelly Mills in the spotty spot. I sit up straight now. All right. And if you're new to the tribe, this is the title: Wretched of the Earth, France, Fanon. That's the title. That's the book that we are on for book club. And as I told Tiara last night, we could do one page. Literally do one page and have an incredible build, because that is just how deep this particular title is. And, you know, explain to her exactly why I chose this title. As I said before, I usually stagger my books. London, Tottenham, salute. Please share London. Let's get us all around London. You know, let's welcome this new energy that's about to befall the UK. A very, very melanated energy. So please share the video amongst your friends, all on your site. Let's build our tribe in the UK. Tottenham. Salute to the brethren out there. Huh? The ones who have lived under the strongest of conditions of oppression. To have to sit out there and bask in the bullshit that they call the royals. Who gave them these titles? Have no idea. So salute to the UK. But I usually stagger. This title usually comes in somewhere around the 14th or 15th book. Not the second. But because of what we're going through in this very historical space and time of human existence, I wanted to rev it up. I wanted us to begin to start thinking more critical about where we're at and where we're going. So those behind us, will have a better opportunity to strike out against anyone, anything, any authority who tries to stifle their potential to be greater beings. All right? So that is why we're on this title already. And again, I welcome everybody. I appreciate everybody who's coming through to listen and build with us, especially my queen comrades. I tell you, the queen comrades. Woo wee! So let us begin. Let us get it right. All right? I'll be concluded on page 51. All right? And that's where we'll pick up the second paragraph, which is deep. Deep. And we're going to continue to get deeper. All right? So, concerning violence, the wretched of the earth. The settler makes history and is conscious of making it. And because he constantly refers to the history of his mother country, he clearly indicates that he himself is the extension of that mother country. Thus, the history which he writes is not the history of the country which he plunders, but the history of his own nation in regard to all that she skims off, all that she violates and starves. Right? That's where we left off. And that's where we are right now when we're speaking of concrete facts as it pertains to the history of hip-hop, which we've been dialoguing and debating about for the last couple of weeks. The history of who we are and where we came from on this poor part of the planet. When someone else writes history, they can distort everything. So again, I always want to point out that we are in a very peculiar and particular space here because there were few of us who are here, indigenous and native to this part of the planet, and others who were brought over, which makes, which makes the dynamic of America one in its own. We were not in our space, right? And they came and annihilated and set up shop, right? Those are colonies. American history teaches you about the initial 13 colonies, but distorts the truth about the people who were indigenous to this land. And those people never documented their history, right? Whether it be the Native Americans as we recognize them, or whether there was some of us from the diaspora that was already engaged in trading since probably about the 1000, 11, 1200s. You understand? So when they say colonies and settling, they didn't do that. They came here and destroyed and annihilated and wiped out through genocide. So when they write the history and they speak on these wars, revolutionary, civil, right? Or revolutionary, War of 1812, right? Civil. They put their distorted vision of the truth on it. And this is why we celebrating Veterans Day and, Arbor Day and Groundhog Day and all these wild ass, non-purposeful holidays, other than to support the oppressing class, so they can have some validation. So be mindful of where we get our histories. We have to really research and dig for the truth in order for us to have purpose and to rename ourselves. The settlers mean when he does it, mean. Remember, it was against the law for us to read. It was against the law for someone to teach us to read and write. Why is that? Why? You have to ponder on that. Don't let it fly over your head the way they do to us in their schools, in the educational systems, in the higher levels of graduate, right? Undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral degree. You glance over shit, right? Like they'll say slavery, whoo. Jim Crow laws, whoo. Right? But really ponder on that. It was against the law for you to know how to read and write. Punishable by death, a lynching. Why? Because if you cannot read and write English, we're not talking about people who they presume to be illiterate, ignorant, dumb. It's not the perception. They knew that once you were able to speak in their own tongue and read and articulate in their own language, that you will be able to find out who you are. It's in the degrees, because he did not know. He did not want us to know how filthy he was in all his affairs. So when one can rewrite who you are, that is a control mechanism. It's a control mechanism. And when you do it on a cultural level, it's cultural invasion. And these things are very damaging to the psyche. And we'll get into that. The immobility to which the native is condemned can only be called in question if the native decides to put an end to the history of colonization, the history of pillage, and to bring into existence the history of the nation, the history of decolonization. A world divided into compartments, a motionless, right? We said it before, manifestic world, a world of statues. The statue of the general who carried out the conquest, the statue of the engineer who built the bridge, a word which is sure of itself. A world which is sure of itself, which crushes with its stones the backs flayed by whips. This is the colonial world. The native is a being hemmed in. Apartheid is simply one form of the division into compartments of the colonial world. The first thing which the native learns is to stay in his place and not to go beyond certain limits. This is why the dreams of the native are always of muscular prowess. His dreams are of action and of aggression. I dream I am jumping, swimming, running, climbing. I dream that I burst out laughing, that I span a river in one stride, or that I am followed by a flood of motor cars which never catch up with me. During the period of colonization, the native never stops achieving his freedom from 9 in the evening until 6 in the morning. Now that's so deep and so relevant to what is going on now and what has gone on with us. That paragraph just spoke on the entire Black exploitation era, where these super men, these super niggas, were created because there was a figment of the imagination or acknowledgement of a past that they have tapped into. Again, they always tell you the X-Men were created in the mindset of our people. So when you see Shaft, right? When you see Goldie, right? And Superfly, and Caesar, Black Caesar, and Foxy Brown. These are images of strength, of dreams. Even Dolomite, kicking away cops and oppressors, taking on everybody, martial arts, guns. These are the dreams. If these are not your dreams, then one would have to assume that total occupation of your mind and essence has been won by the oppressor. If not, you will continuously always dream of such because you will be in constant rebellion, right? Remaining militant. So when you're watching, not only in the culture of who we are, but in the day-to-day life with the ultra-violent attitudes that we display, with the over-the-top rage and anger that is displayed, you see, how I always say it's the same war. Because they're the same conditions. They inherit the same ideas and policies and continue to implement with precision, whereas we fall back. Get it? The colonized man will first manifest this aggressiveness which has been deposited in his bones against his own people. This is the period when the niggers beat each other up, and the police and magistrates do not know which way to turn when faced with the astonishing waves of crime in North Africa. We shall see later how this phenomenon should be judged, right? When the native is confronted with the colonial order of things, he finds he is in a state of permanent tension. The settler's world is a hostile world, which spurns the native, but at the same time it is a world of which he is envious. He wants the bags, he wants the cars, he wants the Learjets, he wants the chicken shops, he wants the sneaker line, the jewelry, the Euro thought. He's envious of that. Doesn't want to replace the settler. He wants to share. I tell y'all that all the time. All the time. All right? Come on now. Come on now. When the native is confronted with the colonial order of things, he finds he is in a state of this world is a hostile world. It is a world of which he's envious. We have seen that the native never ceases to dream of putting himself in the place of the settler, not of becoming the settler, but of substituting himself for the settler. This hostile world, ponderous and aggressive because it fends off the colonized masses with all the harshness it is capable of, represents not merely a hell from which the swiftest flight possible is desirable, but also a paradise close at hand which is guarded by terrible watchdogs, gatekeepers. Am I making sense? Am I making sense? Do you have to go back to all the previous builds that I have and listen to what I am articulating to you? I've told you this time and again. It's not a hate for rappers or entertainers or politicians or those who yearn to be in the house. It's not a hate. It's an objective criticism and critique of who they are as a person, and at what point will they ever give back? Never. Therefore, they don't deserve our attention. Understand where we going at with this? Come on. Come on. Shit is deep. It speaks to what I've been telling y'all for quite some time now. Sometimes I amaze myself how much of this I have on cap. How many times I've read this and digested this. Over and over and over and over and over again. Standing up, I walk it. It's the essence of who I am and who I be. The tribe. I mean the tribe of which that we are building. We're not building no slow leaks here. We're not building any slow leaks here. Very militant soldiers. Because it's around us all day, every day, and in each and every way. All right? I love you too, sweetness. I see it. I see y'all. Oh, yeah, I love my people. No doubt about it. Get your mind right. Conceptualize a life. Conceptualize your potential to be greater every minute of the day. We're not even sure if this measurement of a minute rather, is something that we need to chuck out to. Because that in itself limits us. That in itself limits us. The way we have been taught to count time, recognize time, that stifles our potential to be greater as well. Every minute, every second, every moment, you have the potential to be greater than you just were. That is what capitalism takes away from you. It strips you of that potential. And the watchdogs are there to push you right back in when you make an attempt to leave. Man, this is some wicked shit. All right? The native is always on alert. For, since he can only make out with difficulty the many symbols of the colonial of the colonial world, he is never sure whether or not he has crossed the frontier. Right? You're uncertain because what? Because their language is hidden. Because they deem you, right, illiterate. You don't understand the symbols of which they speak and the true meaning behind them. So you are uneasy, you're unsteady, right? It's like when they gentrify the areas, right? Which is ironic. It's funny because today I went to East New York and everybody always asks me, oh, what's going on in the East? Is it gentrified? What are they doing? Boop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo. The very same tennis courts that are in my alma mater for middle school, George Gershwin Junior High School 166, when my daughter learned to play tennis, was locked. They put a padlock on it while they was inside. They never do that. When my daughter and them was taking those free lessons through the program of the city and the tennis club, never locked the gates. I'm out there, they shooting in the projects, the kids is ducking on the tennis court, you know. Anybody come in and out, but I was always there. I might have been working out in the park on watch from 9 o'clock in the morning when she out there till 2 or 3 when they break it down. So I'm in there today, and first thing I noticed, the gates is locked on it, but every court has somebody on it. And I'm looking, and the majority of the players were white. A couple of Hispanics and a few Asians on the courts. So I'm thinking, oh, somebody paid for it, or they got a permit. It's a different type of tennis club. It's not the city. But when I continue to look, I did see some city banners posted. So if you know the area, you know that right across the street is projects, is Linden houses, right across the street. So that goes to show you that area is very, very, very gentrified. It's the onsets are there. I've seen them in New Lots. I've seen them as far up as Dumont and Blade. They out there walking their dogs and all that. So now they comfortable to be in Gersh. And if anybody knows that, man, I tell you, Beirut, when I tell you Kuwait, when I tell you Iraq and Iran, when I tell you, come on, man, born and raised there, like it's popping. But they there playing tennis. Am I to get mad because the area is gentrified? Are these people feeling some type of prestige because they're out there? Definitely wasn't talking to any of us. It was not speaking. I walked past. Usually you see a few Jehovah's Witnesses sitting on the bench. Speak, try to get you to come through. Nobody participating in tennis spoke. I watched. They didn't speak to us. They didn't speak to anybody who was jogging on the track, who was playing soccer, none of that. They stayed in that tennis court, and when they came out, I saw them walk. I know they was walking either to McDonald's, whatever. Didn't know they was walking right into the hostro. You understand? It's still suffering from poverty, from miseducation, from underemployment. So as I'm out there at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching them out there, I know the projects is right across the street and dudes be popping off. And I know 2 blocks up, Stanley. What naked whores, young whores, renegades whores. But they'll come through the mix of all that to the tennis courts. Now, what I also know, because I've been out there for the last couple of weeks, that right smack dab on the corner, right, of Vermont and Stanley, there's a homeless white girl that's been sitting right there at the edge of the park. Been out there for a few weeks now. Playing with herself, dusting herself off with shorts, with her blanket and all, homeless as hell. So, when you observe these things and you see, gentrification is coming. And if you look at it from the wrong lens, you feel bad about yourself and your conditions and what's going on, especially if you've been out there 40 years and now you see them coming through. You might miss this homeless white chick that's sitting there. And you was a homeless black man or woman, it wouldn't allow you to sit there. Us, on the other hand, this white woman, in a mix of people blowing each other heads off, in a mix of black men beating black women, domestic violence, in the mix of kids, young gunners, 15, 14, shooting each other down. This homeless white woman feels secure. And these other people, white people, money, feel secure enough to come play tennis. Hmm? Man, I'm telling you, you have to look, you have to gaze, you have to watch using a very different lens. Cannot be nothing rhetorical. Watch. Make it make sense. The native is always on alert, for since he the many symbols of the colonial world, he is never sure whether or not he has crossed the frontier. Because he is unsure of his placement. Many of us never knew. In corporate America, outside of corporate America, in the projects looking for help and assistance, right? In your own upper middle class neighborhoods where you may be the only one, you are unsure of how you move because the history of you being harmed, of you being told you don't belong is fresh. That's PTSD. That's what it is. That's trauma. Not being encouraged to do your best. You understand me? That is debilitating. It freezes you until you get comfortable with seeing yourself in alignment and in allegiance and in subservice to them. Then you're comfortable. Then you're comfortable. Then you are cooning on a different level, on a higher degree. You're blinded. That's when you're able to do it. And don't feel any ways about it. You understand? We have to always recognize that. All right? Confronted with a world ruled by the settler, the native is always presumed guilty. But the native's guilt is never a guilt which he accepts. It is rather a kind of curse, a sort of sword of Damocles. For his innermost spirit, the native admits no accusation. He is overpowered but not tamed. He is treated as an inferior, but he is not convinced of his inferiority. He is patiently waiting until the settler is off his guard to fly at him. The native's muscles are always tense. You can't say that he is terrorized or even apprehensive. He is, in fact, ready at a moment's notice to exchange the role of the quarry for that of the hunter. God damn it. We are not tense enough. When they have your gangster rappers wearing dresses and purses and lipstick, their muscles are not tense. They're very loose in the grippers. They're very soft in their appearance, in their speak, in the way they walk, in what they choose to give you. Their content. That's the difference. Which is why it's always a hard, stern critique from me. Their muscles aren't tense. They're not ready for war. They are accepted, traumatized and re-traumatized to the point of which that once they get comfortable in the levels that their handlers put to do with you, your face, your stance, your energy reminds them of every traumatic theme of their life. That's just what it is. All right? The native's muscles are always tensed. You can't say that he is terrorized or even apprehensive. He is, in fact, ready at the moment's notice to exchange the role of the quarry for that of the hunter. The native is an oppressed person whose permanent dream is to become the persecutor. The symbols of social order, the police, the bugle calls in the barracks, military parades, and the waving flags are at one and the same time inhibitory and stimulating. For they do not convey the message, don't dare to budge. Rather, they cry out, get ready to attack. And in fact, if the native had any tendency to fall asleep and to forget, the settlers, right, hauteur, and the settlers' anxiety to test the strength of the colonial system will remind him at every turn that the great showdown cannot be put off indefinitely, which they say that they never ever sleep. And if you do sleep, you are reminded every time we see a Trayvon, every time we see a Sandra Bland, every time we see a Alton Sterling or Eric Gardner, every time in Ahmaud Arbery, every time you are reminded. So how can you dare fall asleep? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. And we're not going to keep doing it. There's going to always be a me somewhere. Let's say fuck that. Nah. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. Nah, how can we forget? And as I always say, the confrontation has to happen. It has to. It happens in Palestine. It happened in Cuba. It happened in Ireland. It happened in Vietnam. The confrontation has to go down. Negroes can't get away from that. Though they try, they've been taught for centuries. You can't get away from that. Gotta clash. You will not sleep your way to liberation. You will not earn mass enough money to pay for liberation. You won't. Confrontation is inevitable. You can't not do it. Science and math don't do that. It has to fix itself. That's part of the equation. Oppressed meets the oppressor. Win or lose. The dynamics of the relationship have to change. That's how it's always been. Protons neutrons, electrons, atoms. It has to. It just that's just how it works. You understand? Come on now. That impulse to take the settler's place implies a tonicity of muscles the whole time. And in fact, we know that in certain emotional conditions, the presence of an obstacle accentuates the tendency toward motion. The settler native relationship is a mass relationship. The settler pits brute force against the weight of numbers. He is an exhibitionist. His preoccupation with security makes him remind the native out loud that there he alone is master. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Oh my. If you do not understand me, please rewind the tape. Listen. This is how they remind you. How do they remind you? Fixed elections. How do they remind you? Tell you what Constitution means. They don't know. They tell you what it means. They tell you the new law for the day. They don't ask you. Tell you where to go, where not to go, what to eat. They tell you what to eat. How do they do it? By making sure that these supermarkets get from these distributors, that get from these farms, go specifically to these zip codes. So when your ass can't find a nice grapefruit after you've been digging for 20 minutes, they're telling you, nigga, eat that frozen, bruised grapefruit or you don't eat shit. This is the oppressor in motion. The settler keeps alive in the native an anger which he deprives of outlet. The native is trapped in the tight links of the chains of colonialism. But we have seen that inwardly the settler can only achieve a pseudo petrification. The native's muscular tension finds outlet regularly in bloodthirsty explosions, in tribal warfare, in feuds between septs, and in quarrels between individuals. You see this every day. I don't have to tell you this. Anger, which he depicts, right? Which he deprives of outlet. And I tell y'all about anger management. So if the condition of my people is one that is festered in anger, and I am an anger management specialist, what more can I do for my people? And who better than I? Hold on. Don't mean to go there, but I got to. Because y'all put others in front of me. You do, because I don't receive the attention. I don't, or the resource to fight in this struggle. The way that y'all give others to get a new pair of shoes or to send their kids to college or to sleep in bed with your oppressor's daughters. They get to wear funny red felt hats. They get to buy fezzes. They get to do all this shit. And I just get the soul clap. Okay? As an anger management specialist. Got to be said. It has to be said. All right? No outlet, but I know how to make sure you can manage that. The native is trapped in the tight links of the chains of colonialism. This shit is tight. Many don't see it out. But we have seen that inwardly the settler can only achieve, right, a pseudo petrification. That means he knows it's coming. No matter how twisted the matrix is, can't get around it. The ones are coming. Knows this. The native's muscular tension finds outlet regularly in bloodthirsty explosions. Black men killing their kids, killing their ex. Come on, man. Raping our women in broad daylight on the street. Kids popping each other with big guns. Bloodthirsty explosions in tribal warfare. Blood versus Crip, folk versus Nectar, all that, and King. Right? FBA bastards against others. Pan-Africanists. Tribal warfare. Right? Infused between septs and in quarrels between individuals. Who but I? But y'all keep playing. Keep playing, because my patience be like, you know, it's real thin. Talking about razor thin. Thin. Patience is thin. See how thin a razor is? Razor thin. That's the patience. I'll be ready not to do this shit. And ride out and do it on my own. Straight like that. Be serious, it's not easy. Not easy. Definitely not easy. Let you know that now if it was easy, everybody would be doing it and could do it. Not easy. Hours upon hours. Content after content to not sound repetitive. And to stay, you know, at least semi easy on the eyes. Not easy. See the grades? I'm old. Not easy. But I'm here. Don't know how long. I'm here. Telling you. All right? Where individuals are concerned, a positive negation of common sense is evident. Make it make sense. Always say, make it make sense before you respond, before you react. Make it make sense. While the settler or the policeman has the right the livelong day to strike the native, to insult him, and to make him crawl to them, you will see the native reaching for his knife at the slightest hostile or aggressive glance cast on him by another native. For the last resort of the native is to defend his personality vis-a-vis his brother. Tribal feuds only serve to perpetuate old grudges buried deep in his memory. By throwing himself with all his force into the vendetta, the native tries to persuade himself that colonialism does not exist, that everything is going on as before, that history continues. Here, on the level of communal organizations, we clearly discern the well-known behavior patterns of avoidance. It is as if plunging into a fraternal bloodbath allowed them to ignore the obstacle and to put off till later the choice, nevertheless inevitable, which opens up the question of armed resistance to colonialism. Thus, collective auto-destruction in a very concrete form is one of the ways in which the native's muscular tension is set free. All these patterns of conduct are those of the death reflex when faced with danger. A suicidal behavior which proves to the settler, whose existence and domination is by them all the more justified, that these men are not reasonable human beings. In the same way, the native manages to bypass the settler. A belief in fatality removes all blame from the oppressor. The cause of misfortunes and poverty is attributed to God. He is fate. In this way, the individual accepts the disintegration ordained by God, bows down before the settler and his lot, and by a kind of interior reestabilization acquires a stony calm, which means your bitch ass would rather fight God than white supremacy. God damn it, God damn it. Brown fist if you with me. Brown fist if you with me. Put them fists up. Put them fists up. Put them fists up. It's only 55 in the building. I don't know how. With 89 likes and you only get one like a person. I know they playing with me. So now do you see? Salute Cali. Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you watch the news now from a different glance? This shit is basic to me. It's basic. The Matrix is basic. Look at it. Open your eyes. Read it. They're not doing anything new. And they're at a space now with their arrogance that they're allowing you to do it to yourself. I'll take them black hearts. understand what we're dealing with. You have to understand the tribe that I'm building here. You know what I'm saying? A lot is limited. A lot is limited. Time, resource, a lot is limited. I'm telling you. To stop bullshitting. Or you will surely die unnecessarily. Mm, mm, mm. Meanwhile, however, life goes on, and the native will strengthen the inhibitions which contain his aggressiveness by drawing on the terrifying myths which are so frequently found in underdeveloped communities. Myths. Myths that you believe about yourself. Myths that you believe about the oppressor. Spooky. That's spooky shit. And the myths that you believe in are always and only exaggerated by the self-medication, the alcohol, the narcotics, the over-the-counter drugs, right? The stress. Those exaggerate the myths and give you a terrible feeling. The anxiety, the depression, the paranoias. That shit out of your head is not real. It's not real. Right? Y'all watched The Beautiful Mind, didn't you? Did y'all watch that movie? Beautiful Mind? Watch that shit. Watch that shit. Man, smart as hell. And that's slang. If you ever hear me say that to somebody who's close to me and they understand, I said, yeah, yeah, he got a beautiful mind. I mean, that something batty. That motherfucker, he Nutella, nuts. Because he was smart as shit, but that mind had him gone. He's seeing shit that ain't even there. Beautiful mind. Dumb as hell. Making up shit, seeing little girls and all type of shit. You exaggerate how strong your oppressors are. That's an imagination. As if y'all don't witness shit. But you ignore it, right? You ignore it. You think that the oppressor is so big, he's so large, he's so powerful. And you forget. This man walked right up and stabbed the Pope like this. Get the fuck out of here. Lay down. Lay him down. I seen JFK get his shit pushed. I seen that. Y'all ain't see that? We didn't witness that? That's your oppressor. This ain't tough. You witnessed it. Come on. But you ignore it. Y'all act like Michael Johnson never existed. Y'all act like he never existed. They didn't put in that work. Y'all ignore it. Y'all ignore Jonathan and George Jackson. Y'all ignore it. Y'all ignore the mau. Y'all ignore it. There are maleficent spirits which intervene every time a step is taken in the wrong direction. Leopard men, serpent men, six-legged dogs, zombies, a whole series of tiny animals or giants which create around the native a world of prohibitions, of barriers, and of inhibitions far more terrifying than the world of the settler. This magical superstructure which permeates native society fulfills certain well-defined functions in the dynamism of the libido. One of the characteristics of underdeveloped societies is, in fact, that the libido is first and foremost the concern of a group or of the family. The feature of communities whereby a man who dreams that he has sexual relations with a woman other than his own must confess it in public and pay a fine in kind or in working days to the injured husband or family is fully described by ethnologists. We may note in passing that this proves that the so-called prehistoric societies attach great importance to the unconscious. The atmosphere of myth and magic frightens me, and so takes on an undoubted reality. By terrifying me, it integrates me in the traditions and the history of my of my district or of my tribe. And at the same time, it reassures me. It gives me a status as it were an identification paper. In underdeveloped countries, the occult sphere is a sphere belonging to the community which is entirely under magical jurisdiction. By entangling myself in this inextricable network where actions are repeated with crystalline inevitability, I find the everlasting world which belongs to me and the perenniality which is thereby affirmed of the world belonging to us. Believe me, the zombies are more terrifying than the settlers. And in consequence, the problem is no longer that of keeping oneself right with the colonial world and its barbed wire entanglements, but of considering 3 times before urinating, spitting, or going out into the night. In other words, you ain't gonna bust a grape. They got your ass scared of your own shadow. Punctified. Boots. Ass. Scared. Layer after layer of trauma. The supernatural, magical powers reveal themselves as essentially personal. The settlers' powers are infinitely shrunken, stamped with their alien origin. We no longer really need to fight against them, since what counts is the frightening enemy created by myths. We perceive that all is settled by a permanent confrontation on the phantasmic plain. So you busy fighting the spooky. On Whitey right there. Oh boy. Cut it out, Bliz. Cut it out, Bliz. Mm-mm-mm-mm. It is always, it has always happened in the struggle for freedom that such a people, formerly lost in an imaginary maze, a prey to unspeakable terrors, yet happy to lose themselves in a dreamlike torment. Such a people becomes unhinged, recognizes itself, and in blood and tears gives birth to very real and immediate action, feeding the mujahideens, posting sentinels, coming to the help of families which lack the bare necessities, or taking the place of a husband who has been killed or imprisoned. Such are the concrete tasks to which the people is called during the struggle for freedom. I hope y'all caught that. All right? Because in that, it reestablishes a whole different set of values, of morals that you only picked up and inherited from your jailers. From your oppressors. Make you question all that. Sign on the dotted line, licenses, oaths, and all that. All right? In the colonial world, the emotional sensitivity of the native is kept on the surface of his skin like an open sore, which flinches from the caustic agent. And the psyche shrinks back, obliterates itself, and finds outlet in muscular demonstrations, which have caused certain very wise men to say that the native is a hysterical type. This sensitive emotionalism, watched by invisible keepers who are, however, in unbroken contact with the core of the personality, will find its fulfillment through eroticism in the driving forces behind the crisis disillusion. And look, we're gonna stop because it's getting ready to get a little noisy and weird in here. We're gonna stop right there because, again, as I said, with the commentary, with how we engage with one another during book club, listen, I'm telling you, I could do one page in an hour, though we did several tonight. But your mind and how you view yourselves, your situation, your conditions, and your captors. Do you dig? Your captors in a very different way. Your enemies, your confused brethren. Gotta be hip to this shit, yo. Come on. Come on. Again, I always say don't believe in me. Believe in my belief in you. Believe in my belief in you. I know each and every one of you are liberators. You all have families. You all have people who look to you, who watch you, who envy you. You are all liberators. But you have to manifest it. You have to take the thought and manifest it into action. You dig? Have to. And if we don't build each other up, if we don't make sure that resources there for all to continue in this struggle, we're going to continue to take losses. We're going to continue to do it. Serious. It gets tough. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. To continue to give, to give, to give, to give, to give. And it don't get replenished. I teach all of my clients. All. You have to replenish. Everything needs to be. We cannot empty out everything. So you have to replenish your mind, have to replenish your soul, have to replenish your body, have to replenish your finances. Everything has to be replenished in order to push through to the next phase of struggle. So there's going to be a time when I'm going to have to fall back and replenish. I've been putting out a lot. So again, I appreciate you coming. Depending on how, depending on what time it is and how long I'm gonna be up, I may go on IG for a little something. Might do a little something. We'll see. We'll figure it out. So again, all things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. You understand? You got it. All things work in divine order. You just gotta take your time. Take your time and look from a different space.